Welcome to Attican Plays Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic. All right, hi, this is Attican, and welcome to Series 3, Episode 4. And you can't see me, but I'm a little red-faced right now. I'm very embarrassed. I actually just finished signing off on Series 3, Episode 4, and summarizing what we'd done, and then when I hit the button to stop recording, I realized I hadn't hit the button to start recording. So I'm going to have to catch you up. So we left off in episode 3 in June of 1960. So we're now about a year and a quarter ahead. And this episode was supposed to start back in a month or two prior to this. So I would definitely intended to skip some for you, only because if you recall at the end of episode 3, we were really tight on the money. In fact, I even said I'm not 100% certain we're going to make it. We were on very, very tight margins, but we were making a slight profit. We had a trade surplus, tiny, like 8,000 rubles a month or something. So what I had to do is just let the game run for about a year, just to accumulate a little bit of cash. And in the meantime, what I did, once it got up to about 120,000 rubles, I knocked down those 3 other distilleries, let's call it failed plan to get us started with a big alcohol business, and cleaned out this corner, moved this football field over, and made room for a food factory. So we have a food factory in here. I also put in another good size, a 127 max flat in here. And so what we have now is we're producing food, and we're taking it over here to the store and then exporting the excess. And that was working great. It was making us some money. In fact, our food was making almost as much money as our alcohol. And we're now supplying food here and alcohol here. Well, then what was supposed to happen in this episode was I was going to show you this little bit right here. So what we did was let this run until we'd accumulated about $130,000 again, and I set up this thing and even walked through all this with you. I made a point of saying we're going to plan this together. Anyway, this is the start of a new neighborhood, and we're going to have clothing. So these are going to be clothing factories. We've got a warehouse out here that we're not going to use yet. We're going to have 2 clothing factories importing fabric, and we will be supplying clothing. In fact, we are. We've got a truck that loads clothing and comes over here and unloads. And we've got a second truck that loads clothing, comes over here to a brand new store and unloads. And then we've got a third truck that's going to be exporting clothing over to Karadabad. So what we're doing here, really, we've kind of morphed into a strategy where we're just following the chain of what our people need, and we're supplying it to them, and then of course exporting the excess, which is just makes perfect sense. It is slow going, but any approach you take, if you play on the hardest settings, which we're doing, we've got all the hardest settings, it's going to take you a while to get going. In fact, I went back just to see, how long is this taking, and I played the one where we started with oil rigs for 3 years before we ever started building a city. So 3 years of just letting it run and make money exporting oil. So we're in our second year, and we've already got up to a distillery and a food factory and a clothing factory. So we're doing all right, and we've got relatively happy people. The happiness is good. We're getting more births than deaths and escapes. We are getting some escapes, and we'll have to work on Lord knows what. Our school system actually is hanging in there. It's doing just fine. It gets taxed. I did go in at one point during all this to get this distillery up to 70 some people instead of 40 or 50. I brought in some more immigrants. That kind of hit the school heavy for a while, but it has recovered and is doing great. Our kindergarten's doing just fine. You can see it's quite crowded, but it's doing okay. And so what we're going to do here is build this new module out for clothing. And what we're doing is we're taking advantage of the fact that we have this lined up right here, the hospital, fire, pub, and cinema. So we don't have to build another one. We're just going to put the small shopping center here, and school and kindergarten that these flats can walk to. And so these flats are stationed, kind of right between, so they can walk over here to get their needs satisfied, walk over here to go to work, other than the ones who walk in and work over here, of course. And that way we should have a very efficient, nice, again, a nice little walking neighborhood for these people. And in fact, as I'm thinking of that, I do need to put in a couple of playgrounds, or at least one for now. Let's get a football field and put it where? Those power lines, man, oh man, I sincerely wish I had been really, truly thinking ahead and built those right up here, right along the border. That's where they should be. I'm almost tempted to just go, well, we don't got fit. We don't have, our money's really tight right now. And I'll explain why it's so tight here in a minute. If we put it out here, and we put a path like so. Let's see, who all can get to that? Well, all of our folks can get to it. And they can get to it from here, which would be a very logical thing to do, would be go get your food, then go have sports. That would be a typical sequence for somebody trying to meet their needs. So we're good on that. But we do, and I will put another one down here later when we expand these out to these. Our economy is more or less stabilizing. And what I wanted to say about that, you kind of build up enough money to get this started, but then it's very, very tight because it's very expensive to get the immigration, get these immigrants in here that are trained and ready to go. Eventually we want to go into I see us building eventually a kind of a immigration center where we bring in people from the Western Bloc and we have good health care and education for them so that we can bring them up to speed, and then we will transfer them to the areas that need more workers after they get the education and they have their health recovered so they're ready to go. So we're slowly coming back on our economy. We had gotten up, sorry you missed this, but we had gotten up, we were doing about 8,000 a month trade surplus, 8,000 rubles a month with just the alcohol. When we threw the food in there, we actually went up to about 20,000. So we were doing about 20,000. I'm hoping we can get maybe 30 or so once we start exporting the clothing. Clothing is a very slow industry, so it takes time to get it up. And see, we only got 30 people working in there. Again, because we don't have, for one of these, we kind of need 2 of these flats is the way it calculates. I'd love to have 2 of these flats working this, and then eventually 2 more. Well, between these 3 things and the clothing, you need a couple of flats. So we're a little shy on people right now. I must say it is nice in contrast to Series 2 and Series 1. Particularly Series 2, it's really nice to have the fire station cover everything. So we've had several fires and they just get put out. I don't have to worry about them. And I don't have to go back and rebuild oil rigs, which is what I seem to do constantly in Series 2. Lesson learned there. All right, so this is going to just have to run out for us, and unfortunately, there's not much to show you. I really literally have to just let this run now as it slowly recovers. And at our, see, we're kind of making a profit now. It's end of August. He's going to go in there and make us a nice sale of alcohol. And there we go. So we're making a little profit this month, but let's just see. Import, Soviet bloc. So we've got a lot of fabric import now. and we're still got a lot of crops, and that's another thing to work on, is see how we can get more crops in and cut that back. I don't know if that's the biggest bang for our buck right now, but it might be. And then the fabrics are quite expensive to import, but you still make a good profit on them when you can export them, provided you can get something going here and get these things going out the door. So we will slowly recover, and the only thing I can do right now really is just let it run. Other than maybe building some more farms, which don't cost a lot. Actually, they don't cost anything. To try to get these vehicles used, because a lot of them, well, they're looking pretty busy. There, that harvester is not doing anything. I'd like to have enough farms so that the harvesters are harvesting something all the time. That to me would be a good thing to have for your farm. So I'll add some fields on here offline, off camera. And really, unfortunately, there's not a lot else we can do right now. We're in hurry up and wait mode until our economy kind of recovers and we start seeing some clothing contributions too. We need to see some exports of clothing. We should have, yes, see, now we've got both food and clothing being supplied to that shopping center. What about this guy? And this one, good, perfect. So we've got food and clothing being supplied to all of our folks now, and alcohol to all of our folks. So we've got all three of these are going to all our people, saving us all those import costs, and those are very expensive imports. And then if we see some exports coming out of this guy right here is probably it. Yep. So he will be exporting some, and you can see he makes pretty good money on that little truckload of clothing. It's just so slow to get it out there. So I'll let it run and catch up, and hopefully when I start Series 5, I'll actually have the recording software on, and and we can have a regular session rather than this one where I'm just kind of telling you what happened. All right, so let's go. I realized how short the video was, so let's just take advantage of that, and let's expand this out. Let's get some more farms going here. Let's see, where can we put them? And again, I'll put out my usual plea. Any of you who have done your homework and done your due diligence and kind of figured out the numbers for these farms and how many is the right number and that kind of thing, please share with us. We would love to have some feedback from you. I wonder if that's getting too far away. Probably not. I think at first, when I first looked at the farms, I was really concerned about having a farm very far away from a field very far away from the farm because of the obviously the distance that the tractors and the harvesters and the trucks, not so much the trucks, have to cover. But on the other hand, I would rather have it take that journey and take a little bit to take that journey and then get out there and get busy, because the way they work is when they go to a field, they stay there until they're done. So a tractor will plant a field until it's completely done. So it only takes one trip. So you can have, I believe you can safely have these farms pretty spread out, be pretty large in terms of how much geography they take up. And be pretty happy that you did that. I don't think you'll mind the results at all. So that's what we're going to try. We'll test that right here. We're going to expand how far out our farms go. And I want to do this without having to terraform the entire Earth. Okay, that's getting out there pretty far. We'll see how that goes. This one I'm a little concerned about whether we can get the road down there, but it looks pretty good. Doesn't like that hill. Let's see. Wonder if we could get to that from a different way. Look at that. That's so nice and convenient. That might be worth messing around with the terraforming a little bit. Another nice large field would be lovely, wouldn't it? If it would fit up here. Not likely. What we had? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. And let's just see if this guy can find them. Yeah, there we go. Now we've got some fields to work with. Now we should be able to keep those, once they get planted and we get into a good cycle, we should be able to keep those farm vehicles busy. Okay, we exported food and alcohol. See, the food is nearly as much as the alcohol. That's nice. These two are still at their respective stores, and they'll be there quite a while. That's the nice thing. This one's almost ready to go. So, okay, so we're looking a little better. We've got, we've managed to expand our farm. Hopefully, we'll see some benefit from that and a greater flow of crops coming into our distillery. And if we can fill up the distillery, which I know we can't, we're just not going to be able to. But if we can just keep this kind of thing going and keep ahead of it a little bit and keep it supplied, we'll be happy with that. And then we could look into, do we need another farm for the food factory? I mean, even when we put in fabric, it's going to need crops. So, you know, we may need 2 or 3 more farms before all is said and done. But right now, I think we're in better shape than we were. We're certainly in better shape than we were. We've got food and clothes at both of our stores. We've got alcohol at our pub. We're exporting some food and alcohol and occasional clothes. So looking better. And what we'll do is that when we get up to enough money, go out and bring in some more people here. Probably open up another flat. Oh, and for sure, let's see, what's it going to cost for a kindergarten? Open up the kindergarten and the school. The school would cost 11. Yeah, let's go for it. We'll open those 2 up. That'd be a good way to end the episode. We'll open up our kindergarten is up and working. Here we go. We're getting teachers. We're starting to have a functional school. So these folks can have school. It'll free up more people to go to work. And we'll get this number up, hopefully, real soon. And, all right, so let's stop right there. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it'll help you become a better player. And I hope you'll join us for our next Workers and Resources Soviet Republic video. Thank you.